Hi guys, it's Debbie, and I've been wanting to discuss Il Capitano ever since its release here in Italy. And what better occasion now with its nomination for Best International Film at the Oscars. I think it's something most had given up hopes for given the other strong possible nominees this year. But here we are, and who knows, maybe on Oscar night Matteo Garrone will actually be picking up an award. Getting back to the topic of the film, as most of you know, I'm Italian, I've lived in Italy all my life, and immigration is a strong point of discussion here in Italy, and I feel like many abroad, especially out of Europe, don't fully grasp the scale of the situation and its delicate nature. Italy, being at the centre of the Mediterranean Sea, with some parts extended below Africa, serves as a primary arrival point for many migrants. Some cross the land borders at the north, but thousands upon thousands trust smugglers and attempt the deadly sea crossing, often on decrepit things you can barely call boats. Many end up dying due to illness, burns, being crushed, falling overboard, bad weather conditions or faulty equipment. And remember, many of these people have never even seen the sea. They're not exactly seasoned seamen. Tragic incidents involving overloaded boats sinking, causing mass fatalities, are unfortunately very common news here in Italy, especially when the weather is good. And it's sickening that we have nearly normalised hearing about all these tragedies on the news. Islands like Lampedusa, a popular arrival point for migrants, exhibit these so-called cemeteries of boats, showing the sheer number of arrivals. There are even some people in Italy who refuse to eat seafood from certain coastal regions because of the amount of bodies on the seabed. I can't even begin to imagine what's down there. This situation has created extensive debate here in Italy. Everybody has an opinion on the topic. It's a very big and complex situation on which not many people have that much knowledge. And even just in my video, this will be just barely tickling the tip of the iceberg. Also, people love to generalize. There is no nuance. On the one hand, we have people legitimately fleeing from the war and poverty, risking their lives to make this journey. But then in people's minds, they are statistically lumped with every other single foreigner who has ever stepped foot on Italian land, a country that is well known for its outdated services, ill-equipped to serve Italians, let alone handle such a huge influx. This creates a lot of confusion, which then breeds misconceptions, with rumours circulating about migrants having better living standards than Italians. Politicians exploit these sentiments for their agendas, and although there are efforts to promote integration, socioeconomic disparities and social exclusion and discrimination remained, and are then fueled by high crime rates among migrants. Then there's the mafia, which of course, as always, has its fingers in everything and exploits the situations and either offers these migrants underpaid labour or gets them involved in illegal activities. Everyone in Italy gets into discussions about this topic. It's often a prominent topic in media, even at events like the Sanremo Music Festival, the country's largest. In these days, one of the big songs and competitions addresses this very issue. It's a complex situation that doesn't have an easy, immediate solution, that doesn't fall into the two extremes of either full-on racism and let's sink those boats, or on the other extreme, let's just welcome every single person because we definitely have the resources to do that. There's no attempt at understanding nuance or doing some research. It's as if people just love the media's labels of either victims or threats. Balancing the rights of migrants with national security concerns, public order and immigration control presents tough choices for everybody. To add to the angry sentiments, many believe that Europe leaves Italy to handle the influx of migrants on its own, when for many, Italy is merely as a transit point for reaching other countries. However, the lack of concrete monetary figures and information leaves many of us reliant on these sensationalized headlines, often leading to more confusion. Additionally, Italy's less multicultural nature compared to countries like the UK, the United States, France, leads to more misconceptions and heightened tensions. The most similar scenario I can think of at the moment, even speaking of how the public reacts to it, is probably the border crossing between Mexico and the United States, a subject of perennial discourse. Like their American counterparts, our politicians repeatedly emphasize the dangers of this journey, warning across idealized perceptions of the country. These crossings can result in disastrous consequences, and you can't trust human traffickers. Once you've paid, they don't care if you reach your destination. You're in your own hands. And then international laws can be tricky. There are risks of human rights violations. Reception centres are overcrowded. Families need to be reunited and it's not always possible. And you can't exactly build a wall in the middle of the sea. Now, getting back to the original topic of the video, the film Il Capitano delves into the awful journey many migrants make before all these discussions and politician speeches and coffee table fights. It's based on true stories of journeys undertaken by real people, and it follows two teenagers who, despite repeated warnings from those who've done it before or have heard of it, embark on a dangerous journey across Africa with the ultimate goal of a dangerous sea cross into Italy. And once they set off, basically anything imaginable and unimaginable happens to them. The film explicitly portrays the brutality they endure, from torture in prisons, people dropping dead while walking across the desert, being forced to physically eject anything they've hidden, bribes, life-threatening injuries, and throughout all of this, they don't share a language. This film isn't in Italian, it features languages from all across the African continent. These two kids are making a journey alongside people from all sorts of cultural backgrounds, from bustling cities to small remote towns where they only speak their local dialect, all while trying to navigate the border crossings, providing paperwork, trying to bribe people, understanding what to do. Watching this film offers insight into the desperation that drives people to leave their homelands, enduring unimaginable hardships for the hope of a better life. It challenges viewers to see beyond generalizations and understand the complexity of the migrant experience. For instance, in the film, Italy is portrayed as a near mythical land, a destination reached by only a select few brave. Much of what the characters hear about Italy is mixed with awe and wonder. Actually, a significant aspect of the film is mixed with ethereal imagery, blended visions with the reality. This surreal fusion is due partly to the exhaustion of the journey and partly to the mix of emotions, regret but also hope, homesickness, longing for parents, and also because the protagonists are basically kids. I think one of the most authentic aspects of this film is its portrayal of 16-year-olds not conducting highly educated, thorough analysis of socio-economic factors, historical backgrounds before their journey. For example, most of what they've learned about Italy is from TikTok. And despite the journey triggering a huge emotional growth, a lot of what they say, the jokes they make, the decisions they make, how they react to certain things, reveals their naivety and youthful innocence. This portrayal presents them as authentic teenagers, avoiding the usual unrealistic young hero narrative. The story remains down to earth with realistic and sometimes disappointing turns to the plot, avoiding the usual heroic, exaggerated narrative that our eyes are used to see on the big screen. For example, there is actually a lot of discussion about whether Italy can actually provide better opportunities compared to their home country, or at least what their families and communities can offer them. Whereas often these kinds of films just give for granted that the home country is absolutely awful and a Western country needs to save them. Often these kind of films fall into a lot of rhetoric, these oversimplified characters with exaggerated storylines, sensationalized stories to evoke a strong reaction in the audience without fully addressing the root problem of these stories, which often is hard to accept. I'd love to delve into more specific scenes of the film, but as you can see, I'm really trying to avoid spoilers to not ruin the film for those who haven't seen it yet. But I think in general, Il Capitano is a masterclass in storytelling, evoking both tears and introspection. It's also a reminder of privilege for those of us seated in our comfy cinema seats, eating our overpriced popcorn when just a few hours away there are people preparing for a possibly deadly journey, counting their money and dreaming of coming here. It's a pity that the film's distribution in Italy was absolutely atrocious. Although Matteo Garrone is a very famous director, upon its release, the film was available only in a few select theatres. Its promotion was abysmal. I've noticed now that after its nomination at the Oscars, it is being shown in big chain theatres, so hopefully a lot more people will get to see it. And there is a lot of demand for teachers to show this film in schools, given, as I was mentioning earlier, the confusing information and ideas many people have about migrants. For those interested in delving deeper into this topic, there are a lot of interesting films out there. One I have often recommended in the past is Fuoco a Mare, Fire at Sea, a documentary providing first-hand accounts from coast guards and medical professionals involved in migrant rescues. In conclusion, the migrant situation is very complex with no easy quick fixes. Politicians providing these simple solutions, in my opinion, simply try to grab the most votes possible without fully addressing the root issues. We must confront the reality of human traffickers profiting from human misery. We have to see how the situation is rotten right from the start. And I think a lot of people should watch Il Capitano, as it sheds light on many pressing issues, and hopefully its worldwide recognition will bring more awareness and action regarding the plight of migrants in our seas. Now I'd like to know, have you watched this film? Are you planning on watching it? Does it sound like something that could interest you? What do you think of this whole topic we talked about today? Let me know with a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.